How do I get to help out my mom? Well, this is her golf cart, and it's dead. Now, it's not really too surprising because these batteries are pretty old anyways, and we've been hesitating on replacing them until we figured out what we wanted to do. The price on these 4 odd size 12-volt batteries is pretty substantial, but a golf cart without batteries is completely worthless. But at the same time, if you price out a replacement golf cart, they're pretty expensive. It's almost like the battery is the entire expense. So it's usually going to be a lot cheaper to replace the battery than to get a new golf cart. First, let me go ahead and put this out there. This is a big boy. This is a heavy battery. It's at least a 2-person lift. I am very stubborn and I don't have anybody to help me. And I can tell you my car is not too pleased with the squatting that this battery is given. So first things first, let's go ahead and unbox this. And I'll try to tell you why I did agree to accept the battery from Vatrer. And it's not just because the price is right. I do have one of their batteries in my motorhome, and I've been very pleased with it, and with the build quality, and with how well it's been holding up. They've had exceptional customer support, and have always answered my questions that I had. And so I'm equally interested to find out how well this one will perform. Gotta get this thing out. Looks like it has been packaged very well, which is good because golf carts can be a little bit rough because they don't have the best suspension on them, and we all do fun things with them that we shouldn't be doing. All right, let's go ahead and try to save my back a little bit rather than lift it out. First thing we should point out, this is a lithium iron phosphate battery, which means it's a very stable chemistry. It's not prone to catch fire. In fact, in most cases, it can't burn at all. This is a high quality steel case, and it has 2 built-in handles. The battery on my RV has a very similar setup as it. They're calling it a 150 amp hour battery at 51.2 volts, which means it's comparable to those 4 Vatrer lithium iron phosphate battery. Is only 22 inches long, looks to be about 12 inches wide, and just under or just over 11 inches tall. One of the great features about lithium batteries is now we're getting twice the capacity of those 4 lead acid batteries. This takes up the same footprint as 3 of those lead acid batteries, not counting the one in the back. We won't have anything back there anymore. It doesn't have an acid electrolyte in there that can boil over and creating a mess on the ground underneath the golf cart. And because this is one battery, all self-contained with all the cells in there, we only have 2 battery terminals we have to worry about. We don't have to worry about all those cables that connect everything together. And of course, this does have an on-off button right there. It does look like it has Bluetooth connectivity on it and another plug right there that I think you can hook up to an auxiliary like display, touchscreen display that you can mount on the cab or the dash of the golf cart. See if the literature right here will explain anything. You got the wiring schematic right here. It shows you pretty much how simple it's going to be. It looks like it's just going to be a drop-in connection, and you have a couple of QR codes that'll actually tell you how to install it and register the battery. We open up the manual, we can get all the good information right here. It says 150 amp hours or 7,680 watt hours. This will give you all your charge ratings and your discharge rates. Even there's a breakdown of that. I don't like to tear these batteries apart. That's not my field of expertise. So they already have a picture of it all torn apart and how the whole system goes together with the BMS built into it. So another great thing about this is that Vatrer's BMS system. Of course, the second thing that concerns people about lithium batteries is going to be temperatures. If they get too cold, you can damage them. If they get too hot, you can damage them. So the specs on these cells is going to be, you can charge it up to 55 degrees Celsius, which is about 131 degrees Fahrenheit. The discharge window is going to be between negative 20 degrees Celsius to 60 degrees Celsius, and you want to store it between 0 and 45 degrees Celsius. Even though it gets very hot in Arizona, 140 degrees is still hotter than I'm going to get on most days in Arizona. So we're safe there. So it is important to note that even though this does have a low temperature cutout from the charger on the BMS, there is no heaters built into it. So if you are going to store it outside where it will be below freezing outside, you might want to consider getting a heater pad to put underneath it, which should work pretty well with this steel case, being able to absorb that heat that you will provide it. And then lastly, this does have a power button right there. You can turn the system on. Let's go ahead and see what our battery voltage is. Positive. They ship it at 52.7 volts. Now with that switch right there, that also means the BMS handles overcurrent protection. So I know a lot of people are concerned about runaway loads that'll cause the battery to overheat or have problems, but it has its own logic that will actually has overcurrent protection. So if the amp draw is too much, it'll turn off the battery too. I'm gonna go ahead and risk it all and install the battery. Now remember, get help. Don't do it my way. Oh, that's much better. Well, I might have spoken too soon. So this cover, that covers over the contacts right there, the relay, and the brains of the whole operation. I just have to make a little bit of space right here for it to, that'll be done very easily with a care of, I can hook up the battery cables, and then I can put this cover on, and we'll still be able to access the button right there. This is important. Remember, I bought that really cheap battery charger for the previous batteries. I don't know that I really want them to be connected to this because it was a pretty cheap one, and I'm not sure it's very compatible with it. So what I'm going to do is order the correct one from Vatrer. They do have a specific charger for this battery, and I think most of the time it comes with the kit. You said this one's set up for lead acid, and it probably wouldn't damage the battery because it only got up to 48 volts instead of 51, so it just won't get a full charge on it. But I think that's going to be fine too, because this harness right here, which is going to be too short to get to the battery cables, is the only one that's too short, and that goes straight to the plug over there. So I'll be disabling the charge plug for now. Before we worry about the battery connections, let's first make sure that the hold down clamps are going to work. So I can put that one in right there. I think it's going to fit. Most importantly, the seat fits back on. So almost a drop-in replacement, just a little bit of modifications, but using the same hardware wasn't too much. If those flanges of the battery were a little bit narrower, it would have been perfect. These right here and the big battery cable, so 3 of them. We'll hook up positive first. Now I did go ahead and clean off the main battery cable right here, but that ring terminal looks like it's seen better days. And I was just going to go ahead and replace the ring terminal. Acid has a way of getting into the braided cables quite a bit, and because I had the same 6-gauge wire already made up, it's going to replace the wire completely. So I'll just take it off right there. Alright, so now following the instructions, we're going to put the smaller ring terminals on top. Looks like this is the smallest one. Feel comfortable right about there. We're just going to do the exact same thing with the negative cables. Tie up any bolt, or I don't want to tie up any cables yet until I make sure it works. Alright, so first things first. I got the key in the ignition. We'll turn the battery on. So far that's good. Let's see if we put it in reverse, what happens. Nothing, but it does read fully charged there. See if I turn the headlights on. All right, headlights work. You know what I'm not hearing is the buzz, because I'm in reverse. It's not doing anything. So I guess this is where we come to part 3, where I learn how golf carts work. If I read it right here, basically it says turn the key on to neutral right there, and then you would put it in tow. As long as you have battery power, it unlocks the motor, but that motor is not unlocked. These wheels aren't moving, and so that didn't do anything. The only other thing I can think of currently is because I didn't hook up the charger port right there. Maybe it needs to make sure that it's not plugged in or the battery voltage is good, because if you have the harness plugged in, you want to be able to drive away. So red and this gray were hooked up to battery power. Let me go ahead and turn the battery off. So those two were hooked up to battery power, positive, and then you have black right there, which was hooked up to battery power, negative. Now this is more than long enough to get there. These definitely are not long enough to get to where it needs to go, and I'm wondering why it has a block on it. It's almost like a temperature sensor, which kind of would make sense because I don't know what the wire would be there for. So I think if I follow this down, there's a blue wire here. It goes to a connection that goes to a harness that's not part of the battery. So that blue wire has to be hooked up to power. So I think we do need power there. And I think this down here is that DC to DC converter, because over here is the red wire that goes over here. There's a 20 amp fuse. All right, let's try this again. Power on. 52.6, 52.7. Nothing on that side. Make sure I'm in run. So we'll go ahead and turn it on. Hey, that's what I was missing before. 52.7. So now my next step is to put the seat on. Before I put the seat on, I'm going to go ahead and turn the battery off one more time and secure all the wiring so I don't damage it driving down the road on my test drive. Pin back in. And one day I'll find other pins for this, but I don't think that's important. Go ahead and... Oh, I haven't turned it on yet. All right, let me go ahead and turn that on. Turn that on. Brake on. Okay, this is a lot faster than it was before. I was supposed to go 10 miles an hour in here, and I've got to believe this is about 15 or 20 miles an hour that I was going. That was almost too fast. There's still throttle left. That's too fast. I mean, likely the 51 volts or the 52 volts compared to the 48 volts that it was getting before is contributing to it. But also, it weighs 100 pounds less now too. Now up over past this turn, there's going to be a hill. We'll see how it does the hill. I don't know why that would affect anything, but we'll go ahead and check with the app to see what kind of a wattage it's using and what amperage it's using that at. So here I am going to start up the hill here in a second. So overall, I would say that was a very successful test of this